Okay, so again, you can type point and it will just do 1 point, right? Which is kind of annoying, especially when you need more than one. But if you go ahead and type points plural, you can do multiple points at once, right? Which is what I have done right here now. I went ahead and create a copy of it right here to the side. Okay, so then from there we have our tools. Some of our drafting tools, right? We have our OSNAP, which is the most important one, I guess, in this point right here, right? And it's all the way to the bottom. I think we're all familiar with OSNAP. Let's just make sure that OSNAP. Here, let me move my screen right here so you can see it better. Let's make sure that OSNAP is active, it's on, and again, you know that because it's thickened. And let's make sure that point it's selected down here, right, on this menu, I guess, on the bottom right there of your OSNAPs. Okay, and I'll also be working with layers, right? So you should have the default layers of Rhino. If not, that's okay. Just create yourself some new layers. Again, we can create new layer, right? Clicking there. I think that that just depends how you started Rhino. If you had it open already and you create file new, I think it doesn't give you the default layers like that, or you know, there's something of how you start the software that either gives you the default layers or not. So I'm gonna jump onto my layer one, which is red for me, and again I can type line, and I can start connecting some of these points like that. Now, line is cool, right? But it's actually even nicer if I can just do multiple lines, which is plural. I can do that. But, right, what's the problem with that? Well, that they're all single segments, right? These are all single curved segments. So later on, we see how that becomes a problem, right? So in reality, what's the command that we want to use to create multiple line segments that are joined? Polyline, right? So polyline, enter, and I can come over here, right, and start doing that right there. And I connect them, and notice right here that on the top it says close. There's that option right there. I can click on that and it closes it for me automatically, or I can press C and then enter and it closes it for us. All right, so that's different already, right? I have multiple line segments on this one over here. They're not joined. On this one, they are all joined as such, right? So we get that. So let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and copy, right, some of this cloud of points, right? Because something a little bit more interesting, and this is actually where our multi-view exercise kind of starts kicking in, right? That if I delete that right there, and let's say now that I start moving some of these points in a different axis, and again, if you don't have it on, make sure that your gumball is on, right? And it's actually again, it's down here, right? Gumball right there, thicken it. For me, is very helpful, right? I mean, for me, is super helpful to be actually able to see, you know, each of the object with the gumball apparatus right there. So what happens if I start moving, right, some of these points like that in space? Wait, I start doing kind of that, right? I start doing that, you know. I start doing, so now my cloud of points, and let's see, let me turn off my grid. If I type grid and I just click, actually it kind of helps to see it, no? It gives us a ground. I'm gonna bring it back. So again, if you want to hide your grid, you know, you just type grid, you click right there and show grid. Let's say, there we go, right? So I have that. And then from there, I can click on polyline. And again, I can, I don't remember exactly the order that I selected, right, for this one, right? So that's what kind of it's interesting about this, right? If you look at my screen, I have those two shapes right there, which look like they're actually the same, right? That they are identical. But if I go onto its perspective views, right, we'll see that actually it's not, right? It actually has different planes, and it actually has different angles, right? Which is actually interesting as well. So let's see what happens. I'm gonna copy this. We're just seeing what happens here, guys. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this right here to the side. Right, so you see how I like to do this, right? And when you go see me with questions, you see me do this on your file, right? I mean, I just create multiple copies of what we're doing. So I really like to trace back my steps. So we have that, right? Now, so we have points, we have curves, right, which are the lines. Now let's talk about surfaces, right? If you go onto this area right here, cascade surface creation, which is that one right there. One of my, I guess for right now, personal favorite areas of Rhino right there, kind of like just play with different surface types. You'll see that the first one is surface from 3 to 4 corner points. And we have all sorts of different ones right there. Surface from planar curves. Right? So let's start with surface from 3 to 4 corner points. Right? So notice that I can do one, and actually I'm going to get even on a different layer so that we can see the surfaces on a different layer. And again, I go to the command for that is surface point. Right? You create surface from 3 or 4 points. And again, if you look at my screen, I click 1, 2, 3, and then I right click. Let me go into shaded mode, and I have created that. Right click, or there we go, surface point. I go 1, 2, 3, right click. I have now that surface. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to do a 4-point surface, and I create that right there. So I have that surface there now. Okay, so we have now we have three surfaces, right? We have 3 surfaces which are independent from each other, right? They're not connected. They're visually joined, but they are not a single object. Okay, so oops, I just moved something. So let's say that I wanted to turn this into a 3-dimensional object, right? How could I do that? Okay, so I can extrude. Right, so I can type extrude, one of our favorite commands. Right, at some point I think we should ban. There should be a project in your design career where you cannot use extrude. Then probably, well, we'll kind of try that. Right? Andrea even was like, what? No. Right. So anyway, that's cool. Actually, let's get extrude out of the way. Right. So I can type extrude surface. Now remember that we have an extrude of a surface and we have an extrude of a curve. Right. So I'm going to do surface at this point. I select the surface and I start doing that right there, right? And I can do that right there. I select those right there, right? And I can do that right there. Okay. And I'm going to select those and I'm going to place them on a different layer. Let's say layer 3, which is solids. Okay. Whoops. Alright, let me go back though before I get rid of those right there. I'm going to copy all of this again. Right, so I'm going to copy this right here. And I'm going slow, guys. Just bear with me. Right, because I want us to think. It's not only knowing the commands, it's actually learning how to apply the logic behind this. Sometimes our questions are actually, easier if we understand the logic behind it. So I'm gonna extrude again, right? Extrude surface, right? So let's say that I do that, right? And I have that right there. Now, as you can see, I'm going to change the layers right here. As you can see, right, I'm going to select those. If you type hide, it hides stuff. It got rid of my original surfaces, right? So I'm going to leave that right there because actually there's something interesting about what just happened right there. We might come back to that model in a minute. But there's a difference. And again, I'm going to join. So go ahead and join your surfaces. Actually, even before that, I'm going to make another copy. Right, and I'm going to join this guys right there. Now notice that they're all now a single surface, which by the way, I would like to bring out, it's helpful to again know that you have the properties tab right here and that you can select any object and it tells you what it is, right? So for example, that's an open poly surface right there, versus if I select this object right here, it says it's a closed solid poly surface right there, and it tells me the layer, the display color, all of that information right there. All right, everyone good so far? Yeah, right. This is like a walk in the park. All right, good. So there's that extrusion, right? So let me make a copy of that right there. Another one. Let's see what happens if I now do an extrude, right, of the surface again, right, together like that. So I can do that now. So a little bit less chaotic, right, than the mess that's happening over here. Right. So we got that right there. Now we see that it has an extrusion right there. We're getting now somewhat of a solid, right? So I have that object right there. So it says it's an open poly surface, right? So let's see, could I maybe do an extrusion? Again, extrude, surface, right? Extrude all of those three together. It's solid is set to yes, right? So that's as solid as I'm gonna get, right? And it's that right there. Okay, so that's a way of making it solid, but there's a problem with it, right? It's distorted in a sense that this distance right there is different than this distance over here, right? So the extrusion is not behaving uniformly throughout it, right? Anyone knows what's another way that I can make this three-dimensionally, avoiding that? Creating a mesh. Oh wow, I think I'm gonna have to come back to Julia so that she can talk to us about meshes. Maybe I haven't tried that, but how about offset? Huh? Right? How about offset? Offset surface. Right? And see how that behaves right there. Now, notice that you get some arrows, right? Notice that if you click on it, it changes the direction of that extrusion. I'm gonna send it out. Can you guys see the arrows? And can you guys see them change direction? All right. Now notice that the distance is set to that right now. I have no idea how that's gonna behave, so I'm just gonna do enter. So it did an offset, but it was a really thin one. You see, that's my thickness right there. So I'm gonna undo. Everyone's got a set of surfaces to play with, like I do right here. So you can try this. All right, so I'm gonna do offset again. Whoops, but I want to do offset surface. Right, offset surface. And that's a problem also, right, that I see a lot in our studio projects, that we start treating all of our surfaces as Rhino displays it for us, which is infinitely thin. right? But the reality is, and it kind of starts hitting you when you have to build a model. Like, oh, in Rhino I have all of those thin surfaces, but now I have to build them, right, with chipboard basswood. Now you have to account for what? Thickness of what? Of the material, right? Thickness of the material. So if I do, again, offset surface right there, select the surface right there, select the direction. I'm gonna do something big for the distance. So I'll say I'm gonna do a 4, right? So enter, right? And I'll do that so that it can resemble as much as possible this other ones, because I also want you guys to see that, because this is something that I also see in projects, that we keep using extrude, right? Because again, it's a safe command, right? I mean, I think it's one of the safest ones to use. But you see how we get different results, right? We start getting something very different, right, from these geometries right here by using the extrude versus the offset surface. And then to begin with, it's not open, right, such it is for the extrusion right there, versus the offset, right, which it is. And again, all of those lines, those are your ISO curves. If you select it and you go to properties and you uncheck that box right there, you see that you get rid of those inner lines that we see inside of these objects, right? So we start getting a much more dynamic model here. Okay, so again, I'm going to select it, turn back its ISO curves. You know, those are just these lines that you see on the surface, such as that one and that one right there, that one, that one, that one right there. Okay, so we have that one right there. So I'm going to copy, all right, this guy right here. All right. Now, something else that I want to show you guys, oops, that it's a very helpful tool, is your direct selection tool. I'm not sure, are you guys familiar with the direct selection tool? So let's say that I wanted to select a surface for whatever reason. Let's say that I wanted to select this surface right there, but only this one right here, which is the face of this object. If I click on it, well, I select the entire set of surfaces, right? Because if I go to its properties, it says right here, it's a closed solid polysurface right here on the top right corner, right? So again, properties is that little rainbow wheel, and I can see these properties. But if you hold Control Shift and you click on an object, Control Shift and you click on a surface, Control Shift and click on a surface, you'll see that I can select that surface only. And not only that, but if you have gumball on, right, I can extrude and I can then distort that form or that shape. Now it doesn't always behave nicely, so be aware of that, right? So again, let's say I select this other surface right here and I extrude it like that. Now we gotta be careful, we get some really funky stuff like there, for example. But where it is most importantly, or where is most useful, is where you actually select edges or points. Because the same way that I Control Shift select the surface, I can actually do Control Shift select an edge, and I can extrude or extend, right? And I can keep deforming this live. And not only that, but I can select a point, right, which is that vertex point right there, and I can continue to manipulate the form itself. Right, so again, go ahead and do Control Shift, select a point, right? And so again, Control Shift and then click on a vertex right there. You click. Notice that it gives you the options, right? Do you want to select the vertex or the edge? You want to select the vertex, right? And you go ahead and stretch it or move it with your gumball. Right, go ahead and distort that a little bit. Okay. go ahead and give you guys some time, right? I'm gonna. Right. So that's fun and all, right? So we talked about manipulation right there, which again, if we now go maybe into our solids right here, so we have seen the sequence, right? A point to curves, to surfaces, to solids. All right, so that's the sequence so far. Now, if you go to your left menu, right here on the left side, and you go to your solid creation, if you cascade it, and I know my icons are really tiny for you guys to see from even from the front, I guess, but those are the solids right there. Notice that you have a bunch of them. Oh, well, a good amount of them, right? You have a box, you have cylinder, the sphere, the paraboloid, cone, truncated cone, pyramid, truncated pyramid, tube, the torus, which is kind of like a donut right there, the pipe, right? And you have the extrusion tool as well as the unjoin the edge right there. Let's just do a simple box. And we start doing that right there. And if you go to, so everyone has a box? Yeah. So if you go to split face, and you select the face, I'm going to select this one right here to split. And I'm going to snap to the mid, and I'm going to snap to the mid right there, and then right click. Notice that not a lot seems to have happened. I'm going to split it one more time, right? Notice that now you actually get the different faces right there. So I'm going to split it one more time on the mid to the mid right there. And let me select this one more time so you can see how it should look, right? So, wow, it's really hard to see, right? But there you go. All right, so we want to split it one way down the mid, and then another one the mid right here. So that was split face. Now notice that with split face, it still remains one single object, which is important for us as well. Now, if I go ahead and select Control Shift or press Control Shift and select that face right there, I can go ahead and extrude it like that. Right? Oops. Right, and I can start deforming that right there. All right, here we go. Now, if you, I'm gonna undo though, right? Because I want to show you guys how to create this. Yes, Karina. Did I what? Move the faces. Yes, that's the yes. So here it goes, right? So if you press Control Shift and you click on the surface, right, and then you press Control Shift. Right, here we go. Right, so the clicking matters. Okay, so if you Control Shift, select the face, you first click and drag, and then you hold Control. You should be able to do that. And do you guys see that? So it's instead of just distorting it, correct? So again, if I Control Shift, select the surface, click on the gumball arrow, and then you hold Control, you should be able to extend that face only. And again, everything remains one single poly surface. Now, if you continue splitting the faces, right? So if you go to split face, select that face right there, enter, split it from there to there, right click, Control Shift, select that face, click and drag and hold Control. You can continue to create that right there. So again, Control, and again I can split it again, right? So split, split face, select that face right there, from that point to that point right there, enter. I can do maybe another one right there, split it from there to there, enter. Control Shift, select that right there, click drag, hold Control, right? Control Shift, select the face for direct selection, click drag, hold Control. I start creating, you know, wow, my screen looks very different. All right, so try that. I'm gonna pause this right. So let's go back to some of the forms that we did before. All right, so I'm gonna create a copy of this guy right here. Right, because again, we can actually do the same thing, right? We can actually select, right, direct select. So that this is called direct selection, right? Direct select the face, or direct select a point, direct select an edge, or a face. And then if I drag, but now I click Control, right, I just extrude it off of the normal of the face, which again, it's very, so there's a difference, right, between doing this and doing, right, that right there. You see? Here, let's do, thanks, Karina. Or were you talking about your model? Oh, no. Okay, yours is pretty too. All right. So here, let's see this command in action in two different ways. So again, I can direct select the face right there, and if I just extrude it without holding Control, it gives me that. If I direct select this face right here, I click and drag and I hold Control, it gives me that right there. Right? So these are the two results. Can you guys see the difference? It's funny, you don't even see my screen and you can see the difference. Yeah, you see this difference? Yeah? Okay. All right. So there's that. Now, I also get a lot of questions in terms of how to draw on a particular face, which I'll address right now. But before we do that, maybe I'm gonna come back to this object right here. Do you guys have something like this where you have multiple surf or solids intersecting each other? If not, maybe just create something like it. Right, I have this solid objects intersecting each other. And again, that's simple. The way that I did that is through my surfaces right here before we join them. And I just extruded them. Extrude the surface. Oh, but I did them separately, right? So I extrude one surface to there, I extrude another surface there, and then I extrude another surface, let's say there. Are you guys familiar with Boolean difference? Yeah? All right. Let's try it. So for Boolean difference, and you know, it's right underneath the box icon right here. So we have the Boolean well, actually the default one seems to be Boolean union, but if you cascade the Boolean options, right, you have Boolean union, Boolean difference, Boolean intersection, Boolean split, which is nice as well. Let's try Boolean difference. And you can just type, right, Boolean difference, enter. Now watch my screen, right? So select the surfaces to subtract from. Let's say that I want to subtract from that guy using this guy right there, enter, right? It gives me that right there. So I'm gonna try that one more time. Boolean difference. Now I'm gonna subtract from that guy right there with this guy right there, and I get that right there. And then the Boolean, I can do the Boolean difference, right? I mean, again, subtract from this surface right there. Now I'm gonna select delete input, set it to no, right? And select that one right there, so that it does that, but it can go back inside, right? I mean, again, I didn't delete it. So I get sort of that abstracted A, right? And it has its join right there where it fits. Boolean difference. All right. Good so far, everyone? Questions? Which one's not working? The Boolean? All right, guys. So a question that I get often asked is, how do you draw a shape or a form on a face, right? On a surface. Let's say that I wanted to do a cylinder on that face right there, right? So if I type, well, here, I'll go to, right, so cylinder right there, and let's say that I, right, want to do it on this face right there. I do that, and I do that right there. And it's not on it, right? Like I want it right on the face right here. So here, I can maybe fake it right now. I want it there. But I want it to be on the normal, right? I mean, I want it to be perpendicular to the face of the triangle right there. So like that, but better. Anyone knows how to I can do that? To make the cylinder come out of the face of this triangle right there. Well, first, first to draw it. Huh? Select the surface? Yeah, right. So I need to move my construction plane. Right. So if I do view, set C plane, right? C plane. And if I go to, there should be an object somewhere right there. To object. There you go. Right there to object. And I click that surface right there. Notice how my entire grid changed, and even your rotation is gonna get all funky and weird. But now I go onto my cylinder tool and I draw, right, my cylinder. Now it's aligned. Not only that, but the gumball, it's also aligned to the normal. You guys see that? Now notice that everything is rotated, right? So we go back, set C plane, world top, and I go back to. So you can see how, for example, now let's say that I create another one right here on this other face, right? So view, set C plane to object. Let's say that I select that object right there. Let's say that I now want to draw a box, right? So I'm gonna do maybe that right there, and I extrude it, you know, all the way down right there. Right? Start creating that right there. Go to View, Set Z plane, World Top, and we go back to the origin. And that's not only, it doesn't have to be some crazy angle as well. I mean, or just a crazy angle. I mean, it could be something as simple as this face is right here. I mean, again, it's something you want to draw. Let's say, you know, you want to do the windows, right, of a building, right, or whatever, right? I mean, you have to go into the, well, you actually can do it vertical. Right? I don't know if you guys know, but you can draw a rectangle vertically like that. But it's not on the face, right? So if I do vertical, right, and it's somewhere, right, but it's not on the face. You see it? So there's those optical illusions that we sometimes get on Rhino, right? So again, if we go to View, Set Z plane, whoops, to an object, and let's say I select that face right there. Now I want to do that rectangle. Now it's on the face. It's exactly on the face. View, Set Z plane, World Top. So that's another very useful one. Now let's go ahead and draw a sphere. I think I saw some of you guys working with spheres right there. Go ahead and draw a sphere. All right. Well, we can see that actually we can manipulate these spheres as well. If I do a polyline, let's say I do kind of like that, and if I can extrude. This is actually a nice little shortcut as well. I can actually extrude a curve. Where am I? Right. Without having to type extrude and all that, right? I could just do this trick right here, but just dragging the gumball and then holding control, and I can extrude without having to type the command. I'm going to repeat that again. Okay, so I draw a curve, which again is a polyline. I draw it from this top view, and I do that right there, right click, and then I select it, and then on the z-axis of the gumball I drag the blue arrow, and then I hold control, and then it does an extrusion automatically. Try that. We can come into our extrusions right there. I can use this if I type trim, right? The cutting object would be that that fold right there, enter, and then I trim the sphere right there, enter, and I end up with that sphere right there, open. Right? It gives us that view right there. So let's say now I want to again make this solid. How can I make this solid? Huh? Well, no, I mean give it a thickness. offset, right? So offset surface, right? So that's, and again, I want to do the direction in and out. Let's now do the distance, be it smaller. Let's say maybe a 1. Enter, enter, and now it has, you know, somewhat of a 3D view. Let's see, why is it doing that? Start doing that right there. I have now a surface. Let's see. There's also these are a little bit more fun, right? So let's say that you do a circle. I'm gonna do this in the top view. I'm gonna do a circle, maybe like that, and then I'm gonna go into my curve, and let's say that I do maybe something. Right, kind of like that. So I have those two right there. So I'll wait so that you can follow me. It's kind of like a, huh? They're just curves, yeah. So you see it right here, 3D. All right, so if you select the, let's say the circle, and I'm gonna move it up, and I can, yeah, just a circle. So I create that, and we know about loft, right? All right, loft. So I can loft those two right there. This window comes up, which again, it does give you some interesting variations, right? If you go to, let's say, straight sections, which is the setting that it's on right now, versus you go to normal, let's see, it's preview on, yes, loose, right, tight. I'm not seeing a preview. Yes, there isn't. Right. So you can start getting some interesting forms out of that. Now, does anyone know how to take care of this opening right here on the top and on the bottom? All right, so we can try capping it, right? So if I type cap, select the object, and I can cap it. Do you guys know about record history? Yes. All right. What does it do?
It allows you to see what steps you're taking.
Oh, okay. So I think what Karina's talking about is wait, it's I think Alt or is it function? How do I? No, what Karina is talking about is F2, right? Your your command history. Is that what you're talking about, Karina?
Yes.
All right, so if you press F2, it's in function 2. That's a script of all of the actions that you have done so far, which it comes handy when you're kind of the troubleshooting, or you did a command that you don't remember what it was, right? So for example, we did a loft right there. And not only that, but when it comes handy is that it tells you the distances that you used. Let's say if I go further back, well, that was 2 back. So there you go. There's an offset distance. Right, so it was set to 4 inches. I set it now to 1. So it's a script of everything that you've done so far. Right, so that's with F2, the command history. No, but I was talking about it was the record history. Right, so let's say that, so I created this loft right here. This guy right there. But let's say that something changed, right? Like that circle got smaller, like that. And you see that it doesn't update the form. Right, so if you actually have, and it's not on by default because it makes the file really large, so you can do basically parametric without having it be grasshopper or anything like that, right? So if you turn record history on, let's see if this works, right? And now you do the loft, right? Let's say that you loft those two right there, and it does that. We hit OK, so it does that. But let's say that you update one of the original curves. Let's say that I make it smaller. Do you see that it gets updated as well? Now, I think if you move it, right, there's going to be a message that says that you're breaking the history. Or no, actually it doesn't, right? So you can actually, it moves it, right, and notice that it updates with it, which is neat if you start rotating this thing like that, start maybe pulling it like that. So you can start getting some, right, or you can start deforming, right, that thing like that. Start deforming that like that. Let's see, let me just get a point. Give me a point. There we go. I start getting that right there. So we have a beautiful towers right there. Try giving a record history, right? So again, it does this. It turns back off so to save. So again, every time that you're asking it to record history, it's this script right here. It's recording that and information. So by default, it's set to off, rather, to record your history. So it can make the files really large if you just constantly record everything that you have been doing, and you can manipulate it live. So again, the first thing that I did, it's move it right there, and I want to record my history starting with the left command, right? So that you guys can see my screen right here. So notice that record history, it's off. I click on it, it's on. Now I type loft, right? Select that and that, loft it, enter, OK. And notice what happened to record history. It's off. Now I come in here, and let's say that this circle changes size. I make it smaller, right? Now the recording is live, right? Well, at least for that component right there. It's going to be on for the next immediate command that you input. But what's neat about it too is if you move it as well, it responds. If you rotate it as well, it responds. All right, so let's try that one more time.